All right, we're here today. We're going to talk about buyer questions.
Buyer question, like
First
buyer,
buyer?
yeah. We ran some scenarios. We have some in a cup magically. Show the cup. They can't even see them.
It's actually provided by Stewart Title.
Shout out to Stuart.
Shout out to Stewart Title there.
Just different situations that buyers might come to us with, clients might come to us. So Shannon does not know about these ahead of time. I created them.
That's fine.
So this should be fun. All right.
First question. What do we got? 5 in here, 6 in here, stuff like that. 5 questions. Okay.
All right.
First question.
All right. Just graduated from college. They have a full-time job lined up.
Let's go buy a
Can they
house.
buy a house?
That's a great question.
Okay.
We want to sit down with them and do a strategy plan around what they have. So, first step is obviously going through, meeting with us, walking through kind of what your wants and needs are, what you're looking at, but then also getting pre-approval with a lender.
Sure. Props to that college graduate, right? For
Props to that college
wanting
graduate.
to take the next step and go ahead and purchase a house. But it is possible. I think like my own children don't even know, right? That like it's possible because they don't think they've had enough of a work history.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, lender has to approve you, but
Yeah, something that just go off the cuff. Something that's interesting that even before the college graduate that I didn't realize you could do now is that people look at credit cards as a bad thing and debt as a bad thing, where that actually could be a good thing. So, not a financial advisor at all,
right.
but there are credit cards out there that when your child turns 15, you can add them as an authorized user on there to start building their credit, right? And that's going to be probably the biggest, again, I'm not a lender, but that's going to be the biggest hurdle is credit history, credit worthiness, right? Which are high credit, all that kind of stuff. And then a multitude of other factors, right? The other side of it is student loan debt, right? That does factor, even if it's deferred, that's going to factor in there too. But absolutely, fresh out of college, yeah. I mean, it's that's actually a good thing to have that, to have your time and job, right? It depends on whether you're a W-2 or a 1099 employee, right? So if you're self-employed, there's some different stipulations there. Where if it's a W-2 job that you're going into, that's a pretty fast track process, and you can really start building wealth in through real estate, right?
Yeah. And I did that with my kids, added them as authorized users, and just went with my son to buy that car. He had better credit than I do.
He's got no debt, right?
Yes.
I mean, he's got no debt. They're like, cool,
Perfect.
right? And we talked about this in a previous podcast, right? But those cars, right? What does that car do? I think that there's so many hurdles for that generation coming up right now. What is the generation? Not the millennial, but the
I'm lost.
whatever generation is, right? That demographic of individual coming up, right? Right now, the statistics, I was at a broker conference yesterday. The statistics are the average person buying their first house is 36 years old.
Sure.
And when you look at that, like that's the oldest generation or oldest thing was been, I mean, in history of.
Okay, so that's older than it.
That's
it's
older.
Always been like more in the 20s.
25, 26, right?
Did they talk about the reasons? Of course, we're going on a tangent here, but it's good info.
Student loan, or one of the factors is people are just waiting longer to do that. Right? There's a multitude of factors that go into it, but it just comes down to they're waiting longer. They're not they're more hesitant on it, right? Home values are up. Isn't the right time? I think a lot of people are sitting on the sidelines wondering, is this the right time? And that's obviously we're two real estate agents sitting here, right? But like and we want to have those conversations with people, and that's our wheelhouse. But I think it's just having those conversations, find that person out there that's right for someone that's actually going to walk you through that. If the first question a realtor asks you is, how much can you afford or anything, they should be, hey, tell me about what do you want to do? Like, what are your long-term goals?
What's the bigger picture?
Right? You're 25 years old now, or in your 20s, right? You're even in your 30s, right? What is that? One of the things that came out of that yesterday was It's been about 26 years old. The average has been about 26 years old because there's 8 to 10 years right now of delayed wealth building.
What does that mean?
So obviously, if you look across the board, right, at the top 1% of revenue earners,
Okay.
majority of those people, I don't know the percentage, but it's very, very high, have real estate in their portfolio, right? So the one thing around that college graduate is they're smart, right? They just came out of college. Now they should be looking at that first house as an investment.
Yes. Yes. You've talked about that before,
Yeah.
as far as like it doesn't need to be your forever home, dream house.
No, but go into it as an investment, because that's when I'm walking through houses with people, right? We're looking at that too, and I'm talking to people about that, and I know you are as well, around what is look at it as an investment. I don't know. I don't want you to sell your house, right? Strangest thing realtors ever gonna say.
Yep.
I don't want you to sell your house.
I don't either. I've lost listings because I felt that way actually.
Yeah, and it's like that's okay, because what are the other avenues that we can help you build wealth long term, right? How do you get that? How do you get ahead of that rat race and stuff? And that's what we're talking. That's what the conversation was yesterday, was that 8 to 10 years of people not getting into real estate, sitting on the sidelines. It just comes down to that. So to answer your question, yes, let's sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah.
Build a strategic plan.
Absolutely. Okay.
Question number 2.
All right. There's a homeowner who is here already. So they already own a house here. They want to purchase another house, and they are considering renting out their current home. That actually ties in really well to what we were just talking about. Okay, so you already are an owner here. You want to buy. Maybe you have had some kids. You want to go bigger, whatever it might be. Or we get a lot. I feel like we get a lot that say, we don't know anything about turning it into a rental, but we'd like to do that. And then, so what would that process look like? What would
that conversation look like for those?
Starting that out.
Make sure I'm reading the question correctly.
They already own a house. They already live here in town.
So obviously, there's a couple different things. Again, not a lender, but there's equity in houses, right? We look at that, right? One of the things we like to do for our clients is send them market updates, right? I love to sit down with people a year, 2 years, 3 years after they look at their house every year. You really should be looking at, hey, where do I stand financially when I update my net worth calculator, right? Where's all of my assets, right? Including the asset that I'm sitting in, which is your primary residence, right? It is an asset. It's also a liability. We'll go into that conversation another time. But there's a so the process is really looking at, okay, do you want to buy your second house as a primary residence, which is obviously always the cheapest way, right? So you actually, I'm gonna pick on you. You actually do this, correct?
I do, yes.
So what did that look like I'm going to flip the question around on you. I know you wrote the question, but
I did.
what made you decide to do that, right? And living, and I'll start the caveat with buying another house as primary residence, right? There's certain time frames around not paying capital gains, being able to buy another house, being able to do all that, show that, and all that stuff. But what made you start deciding to do that? Why did you do it?
So I think, like we talked about earlier, holding on to real estate, I did get started with that process later in life, but I've since decided to rent them out and then go on to buy something else rather than selling. We do have a lot of equity that we've gained here in town over the last 2 years. I think most, depending on if you've lived in your house a good amount of time, you probably are sitting on $100,000, give or take.
I'm gonna guess I'm a stat guy. Stat is actually in the U.S. right now. The average homeowner is holding on to $200,000 of as of 2022 numbers. last
Yeah.
year's census.
And if you look at like our most recent closings and listings, it's 130, 170, somewhere in that range. So
Yep.
some good solid money, which we could take out of our houses and, pay off things and whatever. But I believe that real estate, you want to hold on to it. So rent it out. Someone else is paying that mortgage payment. There's a little extra, a lot extra actually, because we have one that we bought a few years ago before the boom. So now we're able to use that extra rental income. There's someone else in the other rental and then buy another one and hold on to them. The goal is to hold on to them because they're gaining at least likely 3% per year, and 20, 30 years, that loan will be paid off and we'll own homes that are likely going to be worth hopefully double what we paid, if not triple what we paid for them. So playing the long game. And so I even bought one most recently, 5%, 5.6, whatever interest rate.
But you're only putting down how much on the house?
3%.
3%, right? So
Yeah.
you're buying as a primary residence, and that's really the main
Yes.
goal, right? You went into that first house thinking this is an investment.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you didn't, maybe you did,
We
right?
did.
But eventually along the way you got that, right? And then, okay, now how long do we have to hold this house until we buy our next investment, right? And if I go out, and let's say I want to go buy an investment property and walk down the road, it's going to be anywhere from 15 to 25%
Sure.
down, right?
Yeah.
Where if I buy that house as a primary residence, then I'm at, I
Mhm.
mean, there's some loans out there, you can do USDA stuff, 0% down, right?
Yep.
VA stuff, 0% down, or 0%, zero money out of pocket, right?
Right.
You're closing on that, on the down payment, I got closing costs and all those other things, which we're
Sure.
watching.
Which right now in our market is
Is shifting back to sellers contributing towards buyers, some
Yep.
if not all.
Yep.
Sometimes there's none, just depends on a deal by deal basis, right?
Yeah, I think the sellers paid the last house and the one before paid
Yeah.
those closing costs. So
So it's timing that, right? And saying, okay, how am I building that over time, right? Not really worrying about the outside factors of what's going on, because you're going to hold on to those properties for so long that whether you have it at a 7% interest rate or a 5% interest rate or like you're going to budget that money where you're going to look at that portfolio and roll your money and everything there. Right? There's a lot more to that conversation.
Sure.
Too, but
Sure.
now a couple things. If you're let's say you have a home under your military, your service member, and you have a change in lifestyle status, you can purchase another home in the same area because of a lifestyle change.
Okay.
So,
like example would be
in-law moving in, maybe
growing your family.
growing your family. Unfortunately, separation and divorce, right? That happens out there. It just does. Those different caveats there, right? That's where we work side by side with a couple of lenders that we walk through that with those clients on those bases.
And that brings up a good point, right? So just like the scenarios we're covering today, everyone's story, everyone's place with all of this is very different. So it's starting that conversation though. And why not, call someone and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Is that even a possibility? Before I became an agent, I never even thought I would be someone who would have more than one house, right? Because I didn't really know that was a thing. So,
Yep.
I mean, I knew it was a thing, but it seemed like an unreachable thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Stuff's hard until it's not, right?
Right. Someone considering retiring to Tennessee drove through Clarksville previously, so they've been here before. What are the things to consider? Why would Clarksville be a good spot?
So I think first you want to look at, so ironically this falls into another conversation, right? So I'll go through my stats again. If that's okay.
It's so good that you're just like full of stats.
And they're actually accurate stats. They're actually from NAR's website, National Association.
And you just happen to have like
I have this weird thing. So if you ever watch the movie or the show Suits, I feel like Mike Ross. Sometimes funny, that's your last name, right? His name's Mike Ross, right? This guy's got a photographic memory, all this stuff. Not that I'm saying I can remember everything.
I love that guy.
If you ask anybody, I can't remember anything. But I remember stats for some reason. I don't know. It's just weird. So The average person, right? The average person 40 years ago was moving 1 to 5 miles away from where they lived.
Okay.
Right, so they were staying in that area. Did not venture out.
Okay.
When you look at fast forward to, there was 5 years ago, the average person was moving like 50 miles.
50 or 15?
50, 50.
Okay.
So I actually might be wrong on that stat a little bit. But anyway, it's the average person is moving about 50 miles,
Okay.
right? But 1/3 of people right now are moving more than 450 miles away.
Wow. So all of us are just
So 1/3 of the U.S.
our
population
population.
that moves every year is moving more than 450 miles away. Now that includes renters and purchasers. So,
Okay.
but when you look at people moving into a new area, right, and how people are searching for stuff, how people are looking at areas, how the research they're doing, right? Like probably some of you watching this right now, right? You're looking at it as, okay, what's the information? Who can I reach out to there, right? So it changes kind of how that looks, but that's a huge thing. So to go back to your question,
yeah,
why Clarksville? I think Tennessee in general is a very favorable state, right? I've had clients, and I know you have too, right? That have moved from, you won't say the states, but like your different states around.
People don't like it. Those that are here don't seem to like it. There are some.
So again, it's one of the things. One of the things driving people to Tennessee, right? Is we're tied right now with the number of large automotive manufacturing plants. We're actually tied number one right now. So GM, Ford, plethora of others, right?
Okay.
Clarksville being on this side, so manufacturing, right? That's what we're seeing a lot move here: manufacturing and industrial, right? Off on the commercial side, office spaces down, all that kind of stuff, right? So we're not seeing as many headquarters move here at this point, but manufacturing, either expansion or like Clarksville has LG Chem, right? That's 480 jobs that's coming into there. And the great thing about it is they're well-paying jobs, right? They're not 10 to 12 bucks an hour. I think entry over there is going to be like $22 an hour.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, and then you look at the technical, the trade and all the trade stuff like that, Tennessee is just very favorable to that, right? Clarksville, Montgomery County is actually the second most populous county for veterans in the state of Tennessee.
Okay.
First one being Shelby County, so down around Memphis.
Okay.
Clarksville is number 2. So there's some good areas, there's some good things for here. So infrastructure is coming along, right? The state, the city, and the county are working pretty well together to get infrastructure in the areas that need it. I know that really doesn't answer it wasn't on that question, but
no, but it's all things to consider, right? I think we have so much information easily available to us now that we didn't years ago or whatever. So you can research and find those places that you want to consider. Certainly cost of living. Some of these states we will not mention have
cost of living and taxes, right? I mean, that's a driving force, right? You look at retired community, right? That's the question you asked, right? I've had more than one client and husband and wife that they've moved down from other states, and I asked them point blank, "Why are you moving?"
Right.
And they said, "Because I want to keep the retirement money in my pocket," right? Clarksville is actually the number 1 state, according to a gentleman in the legislative branch. Tennessee is actually the most favorable state when it comes to taxes, right? So keeping those taxes low per capita, we collect this state, not we. The state collects less taxes per capita per individual, if that makes sense.
So you're talking, because I know we don't have state tax here. You're talking about, we have income. We don't have state income tax here.
We don't have state income tax here. No.
But you're talking about the other things that.
So your revenue taxes, your sales tax, your hotel, all of that stuff, right?
And your tax on your home as well, property tax. Yeah.
Right, is extremely favorable, right?
Yep.
And you want some shell shock, give us a call. if you're more than 450 miles outside of uh, Tennessee, yeah,
Yeah.
there's some jaw dropping stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'll just take an example, right? A personal example. My sister. I'm not saying anything bad about any of the states or anything, but my sister lives in New York State.
Mm-hmm.
We have very comparable. We did tell recently. We have very comparable homes, price, value,
Okay.
lot size, community amenities. Everything kind of lined up.
Okay.
What I was paying in taxes a year, she was paying in about 2.5 months of taxes there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So when you just look at it from that piece, right?
Mhm.
The other thing is that the elephant. Well, we'll stop there, but I can talk all day on this stuff. I mean, I could.
You can't mention an elephant and then not go through with it.
COVID, right? COVID
Yeah.
taught us a lot, right? So the COVID taught individuals that they can move to other areas, right?
Yeah.
But the other side is the industries. They looked up and said, and I know this isn't answering your question here, but maybe this question is already in there. But COVID industries looked up and said, are we in the most favorable place,
Right.
both geographically and
Mhm.
financially, or can we move somewhere else, set up shop, and be in a better position? And that's what you're seeing a lot on the from the side from Middle Tennessee and West Blue Oval is heading to West Tennessee, right? Which is the EV world, right?
Mhm.
And you just have this influx of those primary businesses, right? And you have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 supporting businesses that then move here. They have to be within their contracts a lot. They have to be within so many miles of these places. Like, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Sure.
That's pulling a lot of people into Tennessee for work, which is great. But also helping to diversify and make this a great community and area to live. So
for me, like I relocated many years ago now, but I just love how beautiful it is here. I mean, I lived in a state that had places that were beautiful that I could drive a few hours to get to. Beauty can be found everywhere. I'm not saying that it wasn't pretty, but it's rather dry.
Yeah, what I love about Tennessee and where I sit actually here in Clarksville is I can drive to. Yes, there's many great things in Clarksville, but I can go to Nashville, right? A major metropolitan city, right? With an airport, and I can be literally. It's a this other. I can be anywhere in the country in 5 hours.
Yep.
Either on a plane or in a car. I can get to.
Where
I can get on a plane in Nashville and I have a direct flight to LAX, right? I have a direct flight to upstate New York. I have a direct flight to Orlando, right? There's so many airlines there that I can get direct flights, or I can be anywhere in 5 hours, which a lot of industries are looking at too, right? Like,
sure.
Anyway. So
no, that's a good point. I think, right? Your retirement age, if you have children, they may not be located where you are, but you can travel to them fairly easily because of the resources that we have available here.
We're dealing with that one with my mom, right? So she can. We talk about this a lot, but like my mother's scared to death of doing it. Getting on a plane and having to change planes, right? So she has direct flights anywhere. So she can see friends and family, and I drop her off and I say bye, and she goes away. She gets there. She once she gets the plane, she gets on a plane. She's gonna land where she needs to land. She doesn't have to worry about it. So it's just one of the nice things. So
I think it's also important to note too that a big part of what we do is checking things out for our clients who may not be here yet. So that's awesome. You're considering Clarksville. Let us give you more about it. Let us go show you. Let us see, run a search on what homes are going to look like. But we're going to go and, tell you more about the neighborhoods. We're going to show you more. So starting that conversation and, even if we're one of 3 places, one of 5, let us tell you about our town. Let us show you. Because we're real familiar with the video tours and, all of those types of things. So.
I love Tennessee end to end, and actually before I got into real estate, right, I was traveling. I was a trade. I traveled literally across the state constantly for about 4 years, and every little pocket of it. I love the state end to end. I think that from from Johnson City to Memphis, there's something for everybody through here. And you can kind of pick what you want, pick your poison.
Yep. All right.
What's the next question? Question number 13? 3, 4?
All right. PCS orders 6 months out. So important to know what PCS stands for. Permanent, do you know? I don't know if everyone knows that. Permanent change of station. So military orders to a new duty station.
Facility, yep, to a new.
Yep. So we see that a lot, having Fort Campbell here in close proximity. And again, it's a matter of reaching out and telling us, hey, we've got orders. This is the time frame. And we know that it's not always, for certain, but we can start having the conversations. We can start talking to you about neighborhoods. We can start, giving you resources to research and look up different areas, different schools, etc. I love to have those conversations with those buyers who are like, hey, if you see houses that you love, like, let me go film them for you. Let get an idea of floor plans, so you can start to familiarize yourself a little bit with, Clarksville and also Kentucky, right? We're in super close proximity to Kentucky as well. So
I think your question is, so 6 months out, have those conversations. Yeah. It's better to, I would rather have a conversation with a buyer or potential buyer, right? Not everything works out, right? But I'd rather have those conversations 6 months out than 6 weeks out.
Absolutely.
And it's like, okay, we're in crunch time. We got to find a house. I never want people to feel stressed. And I have no issue, and I know you don't either, right? The world of virtual tours, right? And that's actually, I think it's 26% of people still buy their homes sight unseen. Okay. So remotely, so that number is still up, right? COVID shot it up around 50%. I think it was in the 50s, but we're still seeing that, right? About 26% of people are doing that, right? So that's where I like on the listing side, right? I'm a firm believer in having a good professional photo packet, but also having videos and virtual tours and everything, because you can go into those houses. You can do that through, you can actually look at the house, walk through it as if you were in it and outside the house too. Right. So you can, it's just another set of a way to put your eyes on it. You can zoom in on things, right? That's what I love about. That's what I love about it. And we guess back to the PCS thing, or even somebody moving here, right? When to have those conversations, right? I'd rather have 100 conversations and 90 of them, somebody's like, no, we're going to do something else or whatever that is, right? Then not have those conversations with people early on, because then you can make sure from a financial standpoint, right? What is affordability, right? I had a client ask me yesterday, I'm working with her right now, and she said, I don't want new construction. She wants new, she wants nice, but she doesn't want new construction. I said, why don't you want new construction? She said, because there's the special tax that's on it. And I said, what are you talking about? And this is another thing, different areas have different things, right? Right. She said that when you buy the house and you're first homeowner of a house, there's a special tax that's put on it for 20 years on top of your regular taxes because it's a new home. So I said, well, that doesn't exist in the state. Yeah, it doesn't exist, right? So now having those conversations as we're walking through it to go, well, what is different, right? I had a client call me, they want to build a fence. You know what she asked me? What does the taxes look like if I build this fence? Oh, gosh. And I said, what are you talking about? She goes, what should I do? I said, build the fence. There were taxes associated with building a fence. In the state that they came from, there was a pool tax. There was a fence tax. There was, everything was taxed through those municipalities, right? Wow. And that's one of the things that I mean, even clients PCS in, right? Military government, it doesn't matter who we are, right? It's let's have those conversations, because it's not that I'm shocked by it. I'm not shocked by anything when it comes to that stuff, but like, how does that look favorable to you, right? How does that, right? It falls into the other elephant in the room, which is, affordability, right? Yeah. What are let's flush all that stuff out, because I may be talking to you, you may be a first-time home buyer, or somebody coming in from another area in the country where that's all you knew, and that's the only message you're getting. Don't buy a house because you have all these extra things in there. Sure. That may be something there, but that
doesn't necessarily mean it's
kind of be here, right?
Yeah.
So, and what's the best fit for you around affordability for options, right? For Kentucky versus Tennessee, right? Us being dual licensed, right? In Tennessee and Kentucky, okay, what is that best option for you? So when you're looking, another thing to look at when you're looking for coming into an area, whether it's here or not, right? If you ever watch this video and you're moving anywhere that's a border state, make sure that agent or that realtor is dual licensed or has a good relationship with somebody else, because are they really giving you the best options?
Sure. Are they considering both possibilities, or are they only kind of?
Our fiduciary duties are fiduciary to you. Put your needs before mine, and I want to be able to do that where, and no, I have no question that. So, but yeah, PCS 6 months out. Call us 6 months ago because we want to talk for about a year.
And I think it's also important to note too, because I hear a lot of buyer clients say, "Well, we don't have the orders yet," or "What happens if they get canceled?" or all of that. So, military buyers are likely using their VA loan. That is to purchase their primary residence. In the event that you are no longer going to be able to occupy that as a primary residence because your orders change, and of course lenders will, be all about those things, but you can be released from that contract, in the event that something falls through. So
prior to closing, yes.
Right, prior to closing, certainly can't. Once it's yours, it's yours.
It's yours, right?
And then, talk about renting it out probably.
Yeah.
So, not the worst thing in the world to have happen.
Worst thing in the world.
I think it's that most people just don't know that you can start it. And you mentioned new builds, and I think that it's important to note that, right now, not everyone, most builders are kind of open to letting people make their selections, and they're starting. COVID kind of shut a lot of that down. So starting to, offer homes before they're even built yet.
Pre-sold world.
Right. So you could secure potentially something 6 months out, close in alignment with your arrival date and all of that. So
that is true. Yeah. Yeah. For the last 2 years, pre-sold was you got laughed out of the room if you went to a builder and said, "Hey, can you do a pre-sold for me?" Where they picked it a lot. There are builders out there that will do that, right? Now they weren't at that point because it wasn't because they were being mean or anything there. They were just so overwhelmed with just projects, right? That they just couldn't handle anymore. So now the market's kind of softened a little bit, evened out a little bit, where they have the ability to bring that back into the portfolio of offerings. So.
And that's always fun to pick all the selections.
It is fun.
Selections, but lots of the selections. Yeah. All of that. Okay. All right. Last one, I believe. First-time home buyers that have been renting for 20 years.
I cry first. All the lost. I got a good buddy that I've been trying to talk to him for 15 years, even before I got into real estate to purchase a home. He literally has just said, "I can't afford it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't afford it." Right. And I guess I'm not a good realtor because I haven't convinced him of that yet, but I'm just kidding.
Maybe you are, because you've still been friends all this time.
Because it's his choice, right? I'm not here to.
What's for?
If that's the best choice you want, here's all your options. It's not the best choice for that, but so yeah, I mean, if you're renting, you're still. The old saying goes, right? This is a realtor saying it, but the old saying goes, "What's the best time to buy a house?" Today. What's the best time to buy a house? Was 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yes.
When you look at this scenario, right?
2 for 1.
20 years ago, right? How much equity you have in that? How much wealth building? How much time you've been there, right? So, what's your real question on that?
I just think that we think of first-time buyers typically. You said now they're 36, but I think we think of them as younger, just starting out and all of that, and there's many out there that have just never made the decision to buy, or for whatever reason they just decided they'd wait until they got to the spot that they wanted to be in, or whatever that looks like. And so I just think, and again, you kind of alluded to it, but people make the best decision that's for them.
Sure.
And
renting is.
There's pros to it.
Renting is I just had this conversation, really big about this conversation. I actually had this conversation with an individual recently, a family member, and they went from having a house for 20 years, right? And now they're moving into a rental. And I'm like, I need to buy it, You need to reset. You have a lot of changes in your life.
Sure.
You need to reset. But is renting, the definition of renting is people always look at that as a negative connotation. Oh, you're just renting. Oh, that might be the best decision for you, right?
Absolutely.
If you're somewhere for a year or so, rent.
Yeah.
Right. You know you're going to move on, rent all day long. I don't want you to buy, right? Because that's not the best decision for you. Because the conversation a year from now, I'm already looking at it to go, okay, I'm gonna have to have a conversation with you. Say, I can't sell your house.
Right. You're gonna be upside down.
Right. You're gonna be upset. You can sell it, but you might dish out.
You're gonna have to bring
tens of thousands,
$30,000 to
if
get
not-
it to close,
if
if not
not more.
more. Yeah.
So, I think for that individual that's been renting for 20 years, it's just pick up the phone, have those conversations. So what has it been? Has it been, hey, I've been moving around numerous times and now I'm settling?
Sure.
Is it, I just don't know. I'm fearful that if a large cap item on my house, a roof, an HVAC,
That's probably the most
water tank,
common
right?
fear.
Renting's the best thing about renting is you got a problem, you pick up the phone, you say,
It's
come fix it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hang up the phone.
Mhm.
I may be hot for a few days because the AC unit's out for a week.
Right.
I may be cold because the heat's out for a few weeks. But
But
I'm
it's off
paying
my plate. I don't have to pay for that expense.
I'm paying a monthly premium, right, in rent. This rent is a premium. The other side of it is you pay for that. And there are costs, right? Buying a house is not all sunshine and rainbows, right? You might get a phone call where your roof came off this year. Did that? Might get a call where your HVAC unit went out.
Right.
You
You
know,
had
it's just-
both this year?
I've had, yep, I've had both this year, right?
Good time.
Pool stuff, right? It's just, anyway, it doesn't matter. But you said it earlier, right? In 10, 20, 30 years, you're building equity. You're building an insurance policy for yourself around that, right? Can the market fall down? Absolutely.
Sure.
Have markets crashed? Absolutely. Housing markets. Will 08 happen again? No.
Yeah.
No.
Shannon says no.
The economist that I talked to yesterday, she's a lot smarter than me and does a lot of stuff. She said literally, stop telling people that the housing market is going to crash. It is not.
Right. And we
Oh,
can
wait.
dig into that, right? The problems associated with
That's a whole.
2008.
That'll be in an upcoming podcast. So
Yeah.
tune in.
Yes.
Tune into that episode, and we'll link it at the end of this video when we do it. But renting buys you time until you're ready to buy.
Yeah. Right. So the things that I love to see happen, of course, hold on to the house and then it's doubled, tripled, whatever in value. That's awesome. But those that, buy and then stay, right? Like in our area here, in many areas across the country, been there 3, 4, 5 years and they're getting that $100,000+ check when they sell, and they essentially have lived there for free. I mean, you pay every month, but you kind of paid yourself.
Pay yourself. Right? Investing in future self.
Yeah, instead of someone is the owner of wherever you're renting.
And throw a stat out to you, right?
Yes.
These last couple of years have been the anomaly, right? So we've seen an 18%, a 24%.
And that's not
respective of
all
it.
the time. Yeah.
The average from 1979 till now has been 4% return.
Okay.
So if you look at that 4.5%
Mhm.
inflation. So if you just look at that, right? And the conversation that we have a lot with people is, well, interest rates are up or whatever the market at the moment is, right?
Yeah.
It's this is going on, this is going on. If you're holding that house if you plan on holding that house for 7 to 10 years, then none of those factors, they
Right.
do mean stuff, right? It is money coming out. They don't want to downplay that at all. But they matter less because if you look back 7 years ago from here, right, where was stuff at and everything that's happened in between, right? So the average interest rate in the last, well, I'll come back to that because I do have that stat that I do want to share with you.
Yeah.
Because that
I
actually,
that one yesterday.
and one actually is interesting.
Mhm.
But yeah.
I think it's just my reasoning for writing that down is just that, again, it's a conversation, right? Reach out to us. There's no, wherever you are on your journey, and even if after talking with us and doing your research and all of those pieces, if at the end of that you still make the same choice to do whatever you're going to do, that's totally fine. The part that I love that Shannon's, big on too is the education and the conversations. So let us chat about it. There's nothing that you can bring to us. Nothing shocks him. I'm pretty unshockable myself. So come on, let's have a chat.
Mortgage rate. So the average interest rate from the 1970s to now was 8.9%.
Okay.
The average from the 80s to now was, excuse me, I'm reading this wrong. So the average interest rate in the 70s was 8.9%. The average interest rate in the 80s was 12.7%.
I remember my parents purchasing and it being.
We all have that story, right? Our parents did this, our parents did, or at least this Gen Z.
I don't even know what we are.
Gen X, Gen X.
We are?
We are, yes, we are.
Thank you.
Anyway, in the 1980s, they were 12.9%, like I said. But the peak of that was 17, like we're around 17. And that was for like people with 700 credit scores.
Holy cow. Right?
So,
can you imagine?
Could you imagine,
but
right?
The offset was the prices, right?
Right.
So, but still, it's all relative.
It's all relative, right? Inflation over time, stuff like
Yeah.
that, right? The 90s, it was 8.1. 2000 was 6.3. I know when I bought my first house in 2007, I was at a 6.5% interest rate. And I was like, yeah.
You were happy.
I was happy. Extremely happy.
And that was before you became an agent. You had no. Why were you happy?
Because I got a house. It was the first day. Like, on a serious note, I probably tear up a little bit.
Oh.
It was the first, because I was 27 years old.
Okay.
And I was finally investing in myself long term.
That's nice. Mm-hmm.
So.
And that is, okay, so that,
It's a pride moment. And it's like.
It is.
It is an emotional experience. And I truly do still get emotional over it. But it was literally, it was my first house and I loved it. The biggest mistake that I made with that house, sold it.
Yeah.
Kicked myself every day for it. Made money when I did it.
Sure.
And I do the horrible thing now. And I look back and I see how much the house is worth now.
Why
I'm just like,
look back? You can't.
because I just like self. That's just a self-inflicting on myself. Anyway, since 2010, it's been 4.2%. So we are up in recent history over that.
Mm-hmm.
But Feds just announced yesterday, as recording to this video, Feds announced on September 20th of 23 that the interest rates were staying. They weren't going to raise the interest rates again this quarter. They probably will next year, but inflation and stuff is getting back in line. They're really trying hardcore to get it at that 2%. But that's my last stat, I think. But
that was an impressive stats, just so you know, because you literally had no. I mean, you just came back from your conference and all of that.
I did.
So that was good timing, but you had no idea what I was going to write down. So.
Yeah, and that's the last question that I'll put out there. Last piece I'll put out there is that when you're looking for a realtor or you're looking for a lender, do some research on an individual. How long have they been in? What have they closed? Not that we've all been new at one point or another, so I'm not discrediting that at all, right? What company are they with? That what does that look like? Just do a little more investigation. 80% of people, 86% of people actually go with the first realtor they reach out to, right?
Somewhere.
First is not always the best, right? The first decision that we make is not always the best decision we make, right? Unless that cost us. I'm kidding. Totally kidding.
What is my hair doing? Sorry, that was a good thought, and I got excited.
But is that the right decision? And just ask those questions, right? It's, what information can you send me? Do some research on them. All this stuff. How are they involved in the community, right? What is the continuing education that they're doing? Because things change daily, right?
For sure. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but the amount of people that tell me that they reached out to whoever and they never called them back, or no one's calling them back, and I just make sure that it's someone who's going to get prompt to get back with you, and we'll have just conversations with you. I think that's just, if nothing else comes from this podcast that we're doing, it's that I hope that people will see that we're really just normal people who are happy to chat and figure it out and get you from A to Z.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up those questions. We'll have some more series on this, but thank you. And please like, subscribe, share this. And we'd love to hear from you, most importantly. So have a wonderful day.
Thanks for watching.